Good day to everyone. This video contains a response to a commentary piece printed in the Fillmore County Journal of June 29, 2020 from Mr. Jeff Erding, and also a little bit about the face mask mandate and Governor Walz's emergency powers. Now, in his commentary, Mr. Erding asked for some specifics. Would I vote to protect our right to keep and bear arms? Would I vote to end the recent tyranny of authoritarian rule forced on rural Minnesota by Governor Walz? Would I vote to support the sanctity of human life, born and unborn? Will I support the tax and spend policies that favor the wish list of the Metro over the needs of our own District 28B? I initially had all this ready to go to the Fillmore County Journal, but upon emailing it to the paper, I learned that any submissions by political candidates after July 1st would not be accepted unless it was as a paid advertisement. That pretty much put the kibosh on getting this in the paper, and then other things kept coming up that precluded me getting this done as a video. However, in the face of continuing pressure from the so-called Republican Party and others for Governor Walz to end his emergency declaration, and who also believe that they are somehow being unfairly forced to do something completely heinous and against all reason by his executive order requiring a face mask be worn to help curb the spread of COVID-19, I decided that I really needed to put my responses into a presentation. Concomitant with the above-mentioned anti-Walz baloney, I pass by a sign every day on my way to work that says, "The Great Mask Debate." Let us be clear, there is no debate. Wearing a face mask in order to significantly decrease the spread of COVID-19 is not an uncertainty, it is not an unknown, it is not in any way similar to real scientific debates, like whether or not string theory or M theory is a better description of gravity. Those are true debates. Why do you think that your surgeon wears a face mask? Because it stops the spew coming out of their mouth that has spit and phlegm and bacteria and viruses and microscopic bits of food particles that, if they get into your open body, will cause serious harm or death due to infection. This isn't a debate. It is scientific fact, backed up by way more than 100 years worth of data. So please, stop whining about wearing a face mask. You don't whine about wearing pants or shoes or a shirt, do you? When you go into a store, you're required to do that. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Although, in all truth, I've never seen a sign that says anything about having to wear pants to receive service. I suppose it's realistically expected that in our modern society, wearing pants is pretty much an agreed-upon manner of going about one's business in public. Similarly, in the current time of COVID-19, it's been accepted by any competent medical authority that a minor addition to the regular public dress code is now necessary in order to enhance the possibility of your continuing to be alive and of others continuing to live. It's not all about you. It's all about everyone equally together. It's not going to kill you to wear a face mask, but it damn well could kill you or someone else if you don't wear one. Okay, so here are my replies to the questions that Jeff asked about. I do support the Second Amendment, which states, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of all the slightly different versions of the Constitution that were written by hand before being printed and sent all over the country. I'm also not going to get into the grammar of the statement, which I'm sure that the people who wrote it 250 years ago thought it to be quite clear and succinct. But today we'd probably write it a little more clearly with additional conjunctions in order to better explain exactly what they meant. Anyway, in a landmark SCOTUS case of 2008, District of Columbia versus Heller, Part 2 of their lengthy examination of the amendment said this: "Like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever, in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose." Thus, the SCOTUS has made apparent that in the same manner as the First Amendment has had laws made that disallow certain language, the Second Amendment can have laws enacted that regulate the many types of arms, their ownership, and their use. I support laws that promote the safety of the public while still allowing people who have been deemed mature enough to handle the responsibility of keeping and bearing arms to do so. Gun ownership and reasonable firearm safety legislation are not mutually exclusive, though the NRA would have you believe otherwise. Regarding his assertion of tyranny of authoritarian rule forced on rural Minnesota by Governor Walz, I can say that I have no need to vote to end any such tyrannical rule because none has been observed, rural or otherwise. The Minnesota State Constitution specifically grants the governor authority to exercise such power in times of great crisis, thereby allowing that person to make decrees and orders deemed necessary for the safety and well-being of the people in a quick and efficient manner that usually befits a true crisis, for however long that crisis may last. This crisis isn't going away tomorrow, or next week, or next month. I figure another year or so. Get used to it. Governor Walz is not being an authoritarian dictator. He has to have all of his executive orders approved by the executive committee that is comprised of the lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and state auditor. As a person who is seemingly interested in the Constitution with your question about the Second Amendment, I would be immediately led to the conclusion that you already knew the governor's actions are completely legal and defensible under Section 12.21, Subdivision 3, 1, and also by Section 12.31, Subdivision 2A. Your apparent disdain for the governor's attempts to maintain public health in the face of a serious and ongoing pandemic does not speak highly of any concern you may have for your fellow citizens, and in no way alters his authority to make such decisions. Just because you don't like something doesn't change the nature of or the facts surrounding that thing. About your question as to whether I would vote to support the sanctity of human life, born and unborn. In other words, do I support abortion? What I support is a woman's choice to do with her own body what she chooses to without undue outside interference. Asking if I support abortion is akin to asking if I support vasectomy or hip replacement or brain surgery. They are all medical procedures. Whether you like them or not is your own personal opinion that should not override the choice another individual makes regarding their own body and personal health care. Concerning your question about tax and spend policies that favor the wish list of the Metro over the needs of our own District 28B. All financial decisions that spend taxpayers' money must include research into how those monies can be fairly dispersed throughout all affected areas. Transportation funding is a big issue. Ensuring that those dollars are spent in a way that adequately meets the needs of all populations, rural, suburban, metropolitan, is key to moving everyone forward. As your next representative, it will be my job to promote the will of this district's citizens through interaction and dialogue, while simultaneously incorporating those needs into the whole of information provided by many others, so that all Minnesotans have the opportunity to succeed to the best of their abilities. I believe a key difference between me and Greg Davids is that I will listen to your concerns and views even if I do not agree with them, because I will be going to St. Paul not to talk about myself, but to speak on behalf of 40,000 other people. Mr. Erding, we face many complex problems in our society. Fear-mongering and hateful rhetoric do nothing to alleviate them. If we are going to solve our problems, we must shun prejudice and ignorance while embracing tolerance and understanding. We must finally come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for your time.